Hopefully by now I've convinced you that story is going to be the key to getting your customers' attention. But I want to go a little bit further. I want to show you how this works with major brands. I'm going to show you how people just like you started companies, figured out their customers' narrative, invited them into a narrative, and made billions and billions of dollars doing it. We're just going to look at a few examples of how this works. I want to actually start with a company called Allstate Insurance. You know Allstate Insurance, right? I mean, Allstate has a customer, and of course, the customer wants car insurance, right? But what is a problem that is going to keep the customer from getting car insurance, or I guess life insurance, or fire insurance, or these kinds of things? Well, they created this character called Mayhem, and we're all familiar with Mayhem, right? Mayhem is the guy who epitomizes like a raccoon in the attic or a fire started in the house, or just a hilarious thing. And that's really kind of cool because if you're selling insurance, you can get really heavy-handed, so the fact they use humor to do it is really awesome. But they understood they have to actually talk about some kind of problem that would make people want to go get car insurance, and they chose Mayhem. That was strategic. And then, of course, we know that we can't solve this problem on our own, so they bring a guide into the story. And who is the guide? It's the former president from the show 24, right? Now, this is just an actor, but think about this actor. He's got the deep voice. He was the president in the show that we all watched. He just oozes authority and competency. I mean, this is our guide. And what does the guide offer the public? The guide offers the public a plan, the Allstate Value Plan. You know what? I trust somebody who's got a plan, and this person has a map, a path that I can take in order to do business with them and stay away from mayhem. But then I'm not going to do that unless they call me to action. And so they tell us, hey, we want you to buy insurance. They tell us to call this number. You know what? If you go to the Allstate website, this is a billion-dollar company, a lot more than that probably, but it's very obvious what button they want me to press. Get a quote. I look at their website, I know exactly what they want me to do. They want me to get a quote and switch to Allstate Insurance. They've made it very, very clear. And then we know if we don't buy Allstate Insurance, mayhem might get us, but if we do buy Allstate Insurance, life is going to be happy for us because we won't be worried about mayhem and what it might do to our lives. That is a comprehensive narrative that they've invited customers into. And you know what? It works. Allstate Insurance has to spend a lot less money on advertising than some other insurance brands because they're communicating extremely clearly and customers are hearing them. There's another company that I like that I think has done a great job creating a narrative and inviting customers into that narrative. And that company is called CarMax. Now, CarMax is a chain, a franchise of used car dealerships. Used car dealers are not very trusted in America. In fact, I think the last time I saw the trust rating of the average used car dealer, I think they were polled at 12%. There's only one profession that polls less than used car dealers. You know what it is? Congress at 8%. So it's that bad to be a used car dealer. But of course, we know what somebody wants if they're thinking about buying a used car. They want a car. They're just looking for a deal on a car. But here's what's interesting about the narrative that CarMax invited their customers into. They didn't choose the problem of, cars are too expensive, or, I might buy a lemon, or, I don't know how to finance this thing, or they really thought long and hard about what people who are trying to buy a used car deal with. And they wanted to put a problem in there that they promised they would help you overcome. And that problem was a used car dealer. Nobody looking for a used car likes a used car dealer. I mean, I hate it. If you walk onto a used car lot, you feel like you got to lather yourself up with oil and wrestle somebody and you don't know any of the moves. You know you're going to come out of there without your dignity. You have no idea if they're telling you the truth. Like I said, 12% trust rating for used car dealers. CarMax got really smart. They removed that obstacle from their customers' experience. And they just said, look, you're not going to have to haggle with a used car dealer. You can trust us. Of course, the guide isn't a spokesperson. They just use their overall brand. And you don't need a spokesperson as a guide. You can just use your overall brand, but your overall brand has to represent something. And I'm going to talk later in this module about those two things that you need to do, or your brand needs to do, in order to position yourself as the guide in your customer's life. And then, of course, they give the customers a plan. And if you go to their marketing collateral, their website, it's just super simple. I mean, it's 1, bring your car in. 2, we'll give you an appraisal value on it. 3, if we decide to buy it, we'll cut you a check. That's if you want to sell your car. If you want to buy a car, it's super easy. 1, shop for the car you want. 2, we'll give you the price on it. 3, write a check. I mean, it's just super simple. They make it very, very easy to do business with CarMax. And then the calls to action in their marketing collateral, on their website, and their commercials, super clear. Come in, buy a car from CarMax, and you're not going to have to deal with a used car dealer. Has this worked for them? Well, let's just think about this a second. This is a very different story than the average car dealership. I mean, you guys have all seen car ads. They're guys screaming at you about how they're having a Labor Day sale and all this kind of stuff. They're the goofiest ads in the world. CarMax doesn't do any of that. They just say, hey, you're not going to have to deal with those guys if you come here. And $8.75 billion last year. $8.75 billion. And they grew every year, including during the 2007, 8, and 9 recession years. They're not just selling cars. They're inviting people into a story and helping them overcome a problem that they don't want to deal with. They're not just selling cars, they're inviting people into a narrative. So what we want to do is we want to create this narrative for your brand. I mean, maybe it's for your overall company, maybe it's for a project that you've got coming up, maybe it's for a product that you're about to launch, but we want to create this for you. And that means we've got to answer some questions. And here are the questions. What does your customer want? What problem is your customer experiencing? Have you positioned yourself as a guide in their life? Have you given them a plan that they can use to help them win the day? Have you clearly called them to action so they know exactly what to do? And then, have you explained the consequences, the negative consequences of not doing business with you? And also, have you explained what their life will look like if they do business with you? These questions are the 7 questions your customers are actually asking. And the brand that answers these 7 questions will stand out from the competition. Now, I likely have you really convinced you definitely want to clarify the narrative of your story. You want to clarify a narrative so that you can invite customers into a meaningful story. And we're going to give you a tool, a way to do that. And we call this tool a brand script. And a brand script just looks like this. It's one page that you can fill out to create crystal clear messages that customers will understand and engage. It's just a tool. It's super easy to use once you understand how to use it. We recommend actually creating a brand script for your overall company. I mean, a big umbrella brand script. And then, if you really want to get good, you create a brand script for each division of your company. And then, if you really want to go all the way, you create brand scripts for each product within each division of your company. And of course, your overall brand script is going to be an umbrella brand script. I mean, it's going to, when you define what your customer wants, every other brand script needs to fit inside of that brand script. In fact, I look at that like the epic story, and then everything underneath it is subplots within the epic story that you're inviting your customers into. But if you learn this process and actually execute and create these brand scripts, and then take these brand scripts and let your marketing collateral be created out of these messaging points, customers are going to listen. In fact, I would even look at these 7 messaging points like chords on a guitar, right? These are the only 7 chords I want you to play. And with these chords, you can write an infinite number of songs. I mean, you don't have to use all 7 chords in every song. You don't have to use all 7 messaging points in every piece of marketing collateral that you create. Your website might have 4 of them. Your email blast might have 2. Your commercial might just have 1. Your print ad might have 3. However, I don't want you to communicate anything, and I mean anything, that doesn't come from one of these 7 categories. This is all that your customer cares about. This is going to help you create a clear message in the marketplace and cut through the noise that your customers are used to hearing. You know, there's a fine difference between music and noise. They're both actually very similar. Noise is just waves traveling through the air, rattling your inner eardrum. And if I played for you a recording of a dump truck backing up and birds chirping and, I don't know, children laughing, if I played that for you and called you a week from now and said, hey, remember I played that thing for you? What did I play? You would say, Don, I can't remember. It was just noise. I can't remember. But if we take that noise and we submit it to certain principles, certain rules, certain formulas, we can create something different. We can create music. Music is just noise submitted to rules. And there's an infinite expanse of opportunity to express ourselves through music. But if you start breaking those rules, you descend into noise, and suddenly people just can't pay attention. They can't process the information. They don't enjoy it. Most of us in our marketing collateral are not creating music. We're creating noise. And this framework is going to help you understand the rules of communication. So you begin creating music that people actually hear, engage, and respond to. You have in your workbook these brand scripts. You can just fill them out in paper form. However, if you want to fill one out digitally, we've got a great tool for you. Just go to mystorybrand.com. That's mystorybrand.com. Create an account, and you can actually create your brand script online, along with a lot of other really robust tools that are going to make the process great and fun. And it's going to allow you to create a ton of brand scripts, and you're going to really love it. Just go to mystorybrand.com. Now, what I want you to do as we close this session is I want you to think about what brand script you're going to create first. As you go through each of these modules, I'm going to guide you in the creation of a brand script. But if you try to create 2 or 3 brand scripts right now, it ain't going to work. That's just too much stuff to think about. So I want you to focus on one project. For some of you, it'll be the overall company. I mean, you're really just going to brand script the company. Others of you, you've got a product going to market pretty soon, and you want to brand script that product. Some of you have a speech that's coming up. You want to create a brand script for that speech, maybe even a team meeting that's really critical. Some of you have to meet with shareholders here pretty soon. I want you to create a brand script for those shareholders so that you can walk them through the story that you are inviting them into. But you do need to create one brand script. Now, here's the thing. If you go through this training and you create one brand script, I promise you're going to learn a process that you can duplicate over and over and over. So as soon as you learn it, you're going to be able to pull out a napkin or go to mystorybrand.com and create another one and another one and another one. And you're going to get hooked on it when you see the response that you get from folks. But for purposes of learning, just choose one. So before we go into the next module, here's what I want you to do. I want you to choose what it is that you're going to think about over the next several hours. What brand script are you going to create first?